Good morning and welcome to Monday's Literacy. Hopefully you've already watched the Cinderella traditional story and we're ready to start our literacy now. So here you can see a book which might look like it's a little bit familiar because it's called Cinderella, but it's called Cinderella Penguin, this one. Cinderella Penguin and the Glass Flipper. So I want you to have a think for a moment. What do you think might be the same and what do you think might be different in this book compared to the traditional Cinderella story which we've just looked at? Today we're going to be planning our own Cinderella story, and all you need is a huge piece of paper. And what you can do is you can put just this big curve here like our story mounting, and then you can add parts as we go along. These are all the parts of the story that we're going to have, because we're going to plan our own Cinderella story, but it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to go through some of the things that we're going to change. So first of all, the box that we come to is the where and the who. So we're going to be thinking about animals from the Arctic or from the Antarctic. So here we've got a seal, he's very cute. We've got a penguin here. I had to put my favourite type of penguin. This is a rock hopper penguin, and I just love his hair. Then we've got this very beautiful walrus. Look at him there, or her. We've got a sea lion, and I've got a blue whale, which can be found in the Antarctic. So what I would like you to do is have a think about which characters you would like to be your Cinderella and your stepmother and your stepsisters. Keep them all the same, those ones. So I had a little think about my story, which I want to plan, and I chose a walrus. Here's my walrus here. I had a good go at drawing a walrus, which isn't easy actually. Right, Cinderella walrus. So that's going to be my title character. You can see that I've given Cinderella a capital letter because it's her name. And I'm going to just write some adjectives here to remind me what she's like. So she's a sweet, kind walrus. She's hardworking. And she's got long, shiny, and she's got flippers. So all of those things are describing my walrus. Now we know the story. The walrus lives with the evil stepmother walrus, and the two ugly stepsister walruses. So I could draw those if I wanted, and I could write some adjectives to describe that. And I'm talking about how mean they are to Cinderella walrus and how they make her do all the work and how tired she is. And then I have to think about, where do they live? Well, I've added a little bit of story here because I've decided that they're going to live in an igloo, which obviously might be a little bit hard for walruses to make, but not in my story. They are very good igloo makers. So they live in this little igloo, and perhaps my Cinderella walrus has to sleep outside at night because they don't want her in there. So that's where they live. That's who the story is going to be about. And then we need to move on to the next part of the story. And this says, how does she get to the ball and where does the ball take place? Well, I've added some more pictures here just to prompt me and remind me. So I've got a fairy penguin who comes along. As you can see, it's a rock hopper penguin because she's got that beautiful hair. And then I can add some things to describe my fairy penguin who turns up, like a blue dress, or I could have a shiny one. I could describe the wings. I could describe all sorts of things to do with the fairy penguin. Of course, she arrives and she gives Cinderella Walrus a makeover, and you can see that my Cinderella Walrus has got this beautiful pink dress, which just makes her look stunning, and this lovely crown here. It could be a tiara. And then if you're wondering what this thing is here, let me tell you, it is a shiny flipper sock. So my story is going to be called Cinderella Walrus and the Shiny Flipper Sock. So she's got 2 of these given to her to keep her flippers nice and warm, and she's going to wear those to the ball. Again, I could write Shiny Flipper Sock next to it so I don't forget. How is she going to get there though? Well, it could be on a boat, it could be on a ship, it could be on a snowmobile, it could be on huskies and a sledge. You can decide, it's your story. In my story, she's going to go by snowmobile just because I have always wanted to go on one of those. So I think it would be nice for Cinderella Walrus to go on a snowmobile. And then she's going to go to the ball now. So she's off to the party, and I want it to take place in a snow castle. You might have a palace. I'm going to have a castle. Actually, I'm going to change it to an ice castle because it's out of ice, and you can really use some great description words there to help you describe the ice castle. You know, what's it look like and how did Cinderella feel when she got there? Then you know what happens at the ball. Now on this page, I haven't drawn any pictures because some of you might not want to draw pictures on your plan, and that's absolutely fine. But we're not going to write in sentences. We're just going to write words to help us. So I'm just going to write the word dance because I know she's going to dance with the Walrus Prince, and I might want to describe him as a handsome prince. And everyone might be looking and wondering who this new princess is that's come in and is dancing with a handsome Walrus Prince. So I've just written some words there to help me. I might just write happy because they are happy. They're falling in love, which is lovely. It's what all walruses want to do. Right, then at midnight, well, I think there's going to be a clock that's going to chime midnight. So she's going to hear that. She's going to slide down an ice cliff. And as she slides down the ice cliff to get away, because the snowmobile has turned back into whatever it was to start with, as she slides down the ice cliff, you'll never guess what happens. She loses one of her shiny flipper socks. Poor thing. And the prince finds it. Of course he does. Then the next morning, they all try on sock, and it doesn't fit anyone, but then it does fit Cinderella Walrus. And then let's use some fairy tale language to end. They all lived happily ever after. So that's my plan. Once I've got the basic ideas of what I want my story to be about, I can then go back and add some extra detail to help me. So here, you might want to start with something like once upon a time, or in a land far away, or in a faraway land. So I'm going to go back to my first part of my plan here, and I'm just going to type in a far away land. And that will remind me that that's how I'm going to start my story. Let's go back here. You've got some other sentence openers here. So sometime later, later that day. And on each part of my plan, I can add one of those. So here we go. I'm going to add that night. That night, a puff of smoke, a fairy penguin appeared. So I can add those to all of my parts of my plan. Then I have got some lovely words here that you might want to add in somewhere. So when you're talking about the evil stepmother, it could be that she's spiteful, or the stepsisters are selfish, and that Cinderella Walrus is scruffy and tatty and dirty and poor. So you've got some great words there that you can add as well. Now then, what I would then like you to do is use your plan to help you tell the story. So you are going to have your plan in front of you and you're going to practice telling your story until you are really, really good at it. It won't happen straight away and you'll find it a bit tricky, but use everything that you've got on your plan. So I might start with, in a faraway land, there lived a small tatty walrus named Cinderella. And then I would build on that until I'm really happy with what I'm going to say. And then I'd move on to the next part of my story. Now, eventually you will end up being able to say a really, really good story. And what we would love is to hear some of these stories. So if you are brave enough to record it as you're telling it to somebody in your family, maybe you could send us the recording, because we would absolutely love to hear some of these stories. Now, we're not planning on writing this, but of course, if you want to, you are more than welcome to. And I will say, if anybody does write this as an extra, it will be worth a Shining Light Award from myself or Miss Eastman, because that is above and beyond. So enjoy this lesson. I think it's a really lovely lesson, and I'll see you tomorrow.